We have the Minnesota Grizzlies, Minnesota Timberwolves next. They moved. So Patrick Beverley, who just bounced around like the last three teams we talked about, the Wolves acquired him for Juancho Hernan Gomez and Jarrett Culver. Just a really, I don't want to editorialize on all these, but what a tough look to give up on Culver for nothing. So like, just man, what a blown pick. Acquired Taurean Prince, Washington's 22 second-round pick and cash from Cleveland for Ricky Rubio.
Wait, can I editorialize that one? Why?
Yes, you may.
Why was Minnesota the team getting the pick in that deal? And it's Washington's 2022 second rounder. That might not be a late second rounder. And I know that maybe Ricky Rubio he can certainly carry a heavier offensive load, and we've seen him play great defensively in the past, but is he going to be that locked in on the Cavs? I don't know. The Cavs saved the Timberwolves some money there and were the team that sent out the pick. I'm just curious as to why they needed to send in a pick. Good for Minnesota, but that's my commentary.
That's got to be Cleveland saying, "Hey, we need this guy. What's it going to take?" And the Wolves are like, "This guy? All right." Leandro Bolmaro is coming over. He was the number 23 pick in 2020. He was in Spain last season. Jared Vanderbilt got a 3-year, $13.8 million deal, fully guaranteed. Jordan McLaughlin got 3 years at $6.5 million. That's also fully guaranteed. McKinley Wright and Nathan Wright, no relation probably, signed 2-way contracts. And as we mentioned, Ricky Rubio is gone, Juancho Hernan Gomez is gone, Jarrett Culver is gone, and Ed Davis remains unsigned and probably will continue to be. Pretty quiet for the Wolves. What do you have? What do you have Minnesota at?
I gave them a B-. I thought about actually going a little higher because I like Patrick Beverley's fit on the team. I do think you have to weigh sort of the cost concession with giving up on Jarrett Culver after 2 years. However, after the Anthony Edwards breakout towards the second half of last year, there was no path to Jarrett Culver being what you want him to be. And I do think there's value in admitting that you screwed up rather than trying to stick it out. And Patrick Beverley, this is part of the reason when you go back to the Clippers why I wasn't as confident with the Bledsoe swap. Beverley was really valuable for them at points in the playoffs. And he's going to bring a lot of what I think Minnesota needs, sort of that FU factor on the perimeter in the backcourt in general. I thought keeping Jared Vanderbilt on that deal was a home run for them. He is really good. He's a human energy drink. He's going to rebound for you. They probably are going to play. You could play him with Karl-Anthony Towns, and I know you have Naz Reid here. And I also really like the Nathan Knight 2-way contract, by the way. He showed some flashes last year, really brief playing stints with Atlanta. I think you could probably get away with him playing some of the 5 just because of his activity level. I really you look at their perimeter, like secondary perimeter rotation, and it's like, oh, you couldn't find a way to upgrade that, like the 2, 3, 4 spots. Where does Jalen Noel factor into this equation? How many minutes is Josh Okogie playing? Are you too reliant on Jake Layman? It's clear that they also don't view Jaden McDaniels as a 4. And even though he played a lot of that last year, but the way they were using him in Summer League, I know Summer League is different circumstances, given that, and then also their interest in literally everyone who's potentially valuable and available who could, be a power forward proxy for them, it leads you to believe that they really want to upgrade the 4 spot. Now, they could still go and trade for Ben Simmons, and this all looks different. They need to get a little bit deeper in the front court or on the wing spots, and they failed to do that over the offseason. But I don't think they had a bad offseason. It wasn't like they were had all this flexibility in what they could do. They're not a free agent destination, so they weren't going to hit a home run with a veteran using their mid-level exception, which they did not use, by the way. So you could penalize them for that too if they want to fancy themselves a playoff team. I'm very interested to see what Bolmaro looks like, because he's just known as someone who's going to guard people in their jersey. And that's something else that they need, that defensive talent. And so between that and Patrick Beverley, you could really run some very tantalizing lineups at this point. I'm also a huge fan of Jaden McDaniels. I would like to see him play the 4 of them. I think they can get away with it. I just thought, and maybe they're waiting on the bigger swing, or they've decided, if we couldn't get a Ben Simmons or a John Collins, we're just going to settle for this is what we have, and we'll bide our time until something better comes along. I think that's fine. I don't even think you could punch them as a bona fide play-in team at this point. And I'm not saying necessarily that one move was out there, but could they have maybe done a little bit more? And there's still some offseason left to go. And if they're waiting to see how the Ben Simmons stuff shakes out, I actually don't have a problem with that. And that's also why I didn't hit them harder for not really upgrading the perimeter rotation. If you're going to say we're not going to make a smaller move until we find out what's going on with Ben Simmons, he's such a perfect fit there. I think he's the team that I actually want Ben Simmons to go to most. That makes a ton of sense. And so I think the most curious thing to me was their interest in Lauri Markkanen this offseason. I just didn't, he and Towns can play together just because they both space the floor. But like, what? That would be just a defensive disaster. And so but that's a move they didn't make, and we don't know how high their interest actually was in that. I think their offseason was fine. I will say marginally active off seasons are probably for teams that were winning at better than a 27 win pace last year, though.
Right. I had him at a C minus. I think I'm going to bump it to a C. I think because I was sort of factoring in like how bad of a look it is to lose Culver for nothing after you picked him, and then they lost their first to the Warriors, which is like, that was sort of more like last season instead of the off season that they messed up there. And I guess like I will just say, yeah, I'm fine with a C. It was pretty uneventful, and it's all fine if they do end up getting Ben Simmons, because I hate that we agree about them being the best destination for him, because that's boring, but it just is. I have some reservations about how Patrick Beverley's whole deal is going to work there, because Jimmy Butler was kind of the last hyper intense, like every minute is the last minute of your life level competitor to be there, and like he just wasn't having it. And I think
he didn't have D'Lo's vibes at that point, though.
Yeah.
Or Anthony Edwards.
Is that positive?
Anthony Edwards
is that positive? Are D'Lo's vibes a positive to someone like Jimmy Butler or Patrick Beverley? I would argue no.
What about Anthony Edwards as comedic relief?
Well, everyone loves Anthony Edwards. I'm in the Anthony Edwards press conference fan club. There's no doubt about that. I think it's a C. Beverley is, in theory, if he's on board with playing for a team like this that probably isn't going to be very good, that works. But yeah, hopefully this is all just the calm before the storm, and Ben Simmons ends up there for, I don't know what it's going to take or how they do it, but that would be ideal. That would bump them way up if they pulled that off.